Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about something that most people don't like to talk about, but I think is still very important to bring up. State legislatures. Before we start this video, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. At the time of this recording, we are currently at 840 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000 before election day. I think we can do it, guys, but I want to see if our channel has the potential to do that. So, do me a huge favor, help me out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's only 2 clicks for you, and now I'm going to get started. Hopefully, you just liked and subscribed. So this is a website called futurenow.org. It focuses on essentially getting Democrats elected to different state legislature seats. And state legislature seats are interesting because they're pretty cheap to flip. Like, for example, the Democrats are targeting a Senate seat in, let's say, Montana, or even better, North Carolina. North Carolina is a competitive Senate seat, as we all know, but it's a big state that they need to spend millions of dollars in to flip. In a state legislature, you have small districts within a state that you can just pay for $1,000 per race into, and you're able to flip it, hopefully for your party. So they're cheaper. But what do they actually do? Well, this is the current House of Representatives map. Obviously, it's not filled in, but the Democrats currently, as we all know right now, hold more seats than the Republicans. In fact, if that wants to not be blurry, in 2018, they picked up actually 41 seats in the House of Representatives. But it could have been 50 or even 55 had it not been for gerrymandering. Gerrymandering, for those of you who don't know, is when politicians draw districts to make voters irrelevant, essentially. So if you, for example, in the state of North Carolina, the Republicans were in power, and as we all know, most black voters tend to vote Democrat. They drew the lines to make black voters only in one district, so they'd have their one district, but the other districts would be more Republican than they would have been had it been more fairly drawn. State legislatures decide how those maps are drawn. So this whole House map is determined by state legislatures. Now, in a state like Wyoming, that doesn't matter because there's only one district there, and it's all Republican. So it doesn't really matter in Wyoming. But in a state like, say, Montana, where in Montana they're adding a new congressional district this year, it could be a Democrat one if the Democrats take control of the Montana state legislature, and it could be a Republican one if the Republicans maintain control of the Montana state legislature. The same thing happened in Wisconsin. So they really do matter. So in 2018, the Democrats flipped multiple state legislatures. They flipped New Hampshire, Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, and Maine. So they also gained seats in New York, and they gained seats essentially everywhere. But so we're going to take a look at the 2020 targets for Democrats, and we're going to start off with the state of New Mexico, or I'd just start with Alaska because 2020 targets. I want to see if it can take me there. Hold on. Alright, so we're going to start actually with Texas, where Texas, currently in the state Senate, you have 12 Democrats and 19 Republicans, 67 Democrats and 83 Republicans in the state House. So, the Republican Party has held control of Texas since the 1980s and 90s. In fact, I think the last time that a Democrat won a statewide race in Texas was in the 1990s. So, Texas has been red for a while, but as one says here, it was a pipe dream. Now it's a real possibility, and the Democrats, Joe Biden has about a 1 in 3 chance, according to some, in winning Texas this election year. So, the state legislature, they're able to flip it, but gerrymandering is holding them back, so that makes it hard for them. But if the Democrats can take control of the state legislature in Texas, there's no more gerrymandering for them, and they'll be able to maintain control fairly easily. So, what's interesting is that they endorse candidates, like in this case, Elise Markowitz, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Angela Brewer, for example, who are Democrats running for House seats in the state of Texas, state House seats. So the goal is to flip the House, which is doable because, remember, you only have they're only losing in the House, I guess you could say, by 16 seats, and this is expected to be a blue wave year. So in 2018, they actually gained seats, so they're on the right track. Now let's see Pennsylvania. Their goal is to flip a chamber, and they currently are in the minority in both the state Senate and the state House. So this is very doable. Pennsylvania is a blue state that really has had a history of going to Democrats in the presidential election, but giving them the short end of the stick in the legislative elections at a local level. I mean, it's mostly due to gerrymandering, but on the same ballot on the same ballot as Hillary Clinton lost Pennsylvania by 0.5% in 2016. Pat Toomey won re-election by 5%. So there's voting that's not down ballot going on here. But the most realistic goal for Democrats is the state Senate, seeing as you have more Republican seats up for election. But North Carolina, the goal is to flip a chamber, similar to Pennsylvania. The state House is actually gerrymandered more than the state Senate is, so that's their realistic goal. New Hampshire is actually interesting. Their goal is to defend the Senate majority, where they have the majority in the state House, obviously, but state Senate is actually interesting because they only have a 4-seat majority, so they have to defend that majority. In the state of Montana, their goal is to flip the state House, which it plays a big role in drawing the maps that make new congressional districts. So I think that's more doable than the state Senate because you're losing by 10 in a red state in a presidential election year. In Michigan, their goal is to flip the House. Again, like the rest of the Rust Belt, Michigan likes to vote Democrat at Senate and federal levels, but not at the local level, which is a big problem for Democrats because you can have gerrymandering easily happen. But in the state House, they're only losing by 6 seats. I think that's a pretty strong ability to flip. In Maine, the goal is to defend the Senate majority. They already have had the majority in the state House for a while, and they took the Senate in 2018. That is what they should be doing now. In Kansas, the Republicans have a supermajority in the U.S. Senate, so they want to essentially make it not filibuster-proof anymore. And that's, obviously, they're not going to be able to take control of the Kansas State Senate, but their goal is to gain, a couple seats. In Iowa, the goal is to flip the House. In the Senate, they're doing pretty poorly, but the House, same with Michigan, they're only behind by 6 seats, so they only have to pick up 3 for a tie. In Florida, their goal is to flip the House. Remember, the state Senate and the state House in Florida does go to Democrats, or does tend to vote for the Republicans, but their goal is to flip the House, which is, again, pretty doable in a state like Florida. Now, in Arizona, their goal is to flip a chamber. They won a special election there, I think a couple of months ago, or end of 2019. It feels like not that long ago. And this is as close as it gets in the Arizona State House of Representatives. Democrats were once losing big, now they're literally knocking at the door. So, yeah. In the state of Arizona, the Senate is also doable, but I think the House, remember, you have a bunch of seats that are looking to go blue. I think Arizona is a flip for the Democrats. I'm very confident of that. In Alaska, defend a bipartisan coalition. I'm not exactly sure what that means, so I'm not going to pretend that I know. But Virginia is interesting because in 2019, their goal was to improve lives, which essentially means for them electing Democrats. And 11 of their endorsees won the seats. They were successful in Virginia and Mississippi. In Mississippi in 2019, their goal, I'm trying to see what their goal was, higher turnout, and they were able to gain seats. So what I'm trying to say here is that state legislatures are important in that the Democrats have a big opportunity. They can, I think they have opportunities in North Carolina, Kansas, Michigan, and Arizona for sure. Now, I think it's a stretch to say that they're going to win in Alaska, maybe, but I do agree that the state legislatures are very important. I might do a state legislature prediction maybe before the election, maybe like a week before the election. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching this video. I know this was just more informative than it was me predicting it. So tell me what you think in the comment section below. Check out all the links in the description, and I'll see you all tomorrow.